I was 16 years old, starting a new company. I had just closed my laptop after sending out the first order for the first 90 units. And as I did that, I thought back to my previous company. In my first company, we also started off with a very small initial order. And we got flooded with orders that we couldn't fulfill because we didn't have the inventory for it. So that meant delays in deliveries, a lot of angry customers, and ultimately lost revenue. And I was sure that this was going to happen again with this second company. So I quickly reopened my laptop and sent another email saying the 90 actually was a typo and that I had forgotten 10 and I wanted 900 units. So what was this amazing product? This product was a Woolly. The Woolly is a cap, shawl, mittens in one. We thought it was amazing. We had tested it with my mom and 2 influencers, and they all loved it. And I mean, the response here kind of gives it away. The company was a total disaster. No one wanted our Woolies. I still remember 1 year later, standing in our warehouse with 800 of the 900 initial Woolies still there. Eventually, we had to sell them by the kilo. However, a few years later, when I joined the corporate world, I learned that what had prepared me best for my new job was not my 6 years of university education or my employer-mandated 3-week-long onboarding, but it was that Woolly experience. Because one of my first projects was helping a telecom company. Their question was how to spend $10 million marketing. They were launching a new app, and they were wondering whether to spend this marketing money on TV ads, influencers, social media, or something else. And as I heard them pitch the app, I almost heard an echo. They were telling me how their CEO loved the app and 2 influencers loved the app. And I raised my hand and I told them about my Woolly story and how I really thought that customer research, a little more customer research, would be a better investment. So it took some convincing, but eventually we managed to spend 10,000 euros off the 10 million euros on some more customer research. And it turned out the app was pretty similar to my Woolies. It was going to be a total disaster. So they didn't launch the app. Instead, they revamped the entire app. They launched it a year later, and I'm still very proud to have the thank you note I got from them a year later, thanking me for convincing them to not launch the app immediately. But I could have never given that advice without my failed Woolly business. So that's my call today. We always talk about startups here in Silicon Valley. And we really do it all the time, whether we're hiking or in a bar or checking out in the grocery line. But when we talk about startups, we always ask one question, which is this going to be the next big thing? Because that's what we all care about here. However, I think we should also ask a second question, which is, what are you going to learn from this journey? And I think that that's so important for 3 reasons. First, startup success is highly unpredictable, but learnings are guaranteed. Secondly, startup lessons are so much more useful than anything learned in theory. And third, startups are actually pretty affordable. So let's go to the first one. Startup success is very unpredictable. Research shows that if all of you were to start a startup now, in 3 years, at least 2/3 would be out of business. So that's kind of like this part of the room. Well, not for you back there. You'll be successful. But no, startup success is highly unpredictable. But what I can guarantee you is that everyone will learn a lot from this experience. And those lessons will be useful beyond the realm of startups. Academic research shows that former founders are much more successful, not only as founders for new companies, but also in other sections, in other settings. So startup success will stay with you forever. But then what are those lessons? You learn a lot in startups. You do marketing, HR, finance, customer research, taxes, which is obviously my favorite one. You do everything yourself. But you do those things in practice. And that makes all the difference. The Woolly story is a story of failed customer research. And the telecom story, where we didn't launch the app, is a story of successful customer research. And I think that difference is best understood by a quote from Chinese philosophy. The quote says, "Show me and I'll forget. Teach me and I might remember, but let me do it and I will remember this for the rest of my life." And that was the Woolly experience for me. Standing in that warehouse with 800 unsold Woolies hits you so much harder than any online course on customer research can ever teach you. So startup lessons are practical, and because of that, they'll stick with you for the rest of your life. So when you're in a meeting and someone pitches an app to you, that lesson is top of mind immediately. But I don't want you all to leave here today thinking that, indeed, you can learn a lot from startups, but that they're very risky financially. I mean, there's a truth to that, right? If you're crippling in student debt, maybe that safe corporate job is better for you than starting a company. However, I'm here at Stanford studying, and I'm paying to study here because I value the lessons I'm learning here so much more than what I'm paying to be here. And the same goes for startups. Maybe you need to invest some money up front, but you will get a lot of lessons in return. And as opposed to my school here, with startups, you can actually make a lot of money. There is an upside. So let's wrap this up. I know there's a lot of people in this room and watching online who are thinking about starting a company. And I'm sure you're all convinced that your company is going to change the world. And I have a lot of faith in every single one of you, but like I said, at least 2/3 of you is not going to change the world. So what I can guarantee you, though, is that every single one of you will learn things that will stick with you for the rest of your life. So please, next time you're thinking about starting a company, don't just ask, is this going to be the next big thing? But also ask, what can I learn from this? Thank you.